All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the 31st of October, 2020. It's officially Halloween all over the world, except we got a little Corona COVID restrictions, so there won't be any trick-or-treaters tonight. But anyway, just wanted to show you a couple of quick things here on the Nomad update. I'm getting close to the end of the series because I'm almost done with it, but I'll go down here and do what I usually do. So, I got my marker out here. This is my to-do list. You've actually saw I started this last month. We're about a month later. So, chrome trim install is complete. And basically what I had to do right here is some of these tabs were broken off on the back, and these things are actually unique to Nomad. So there's not like going online and finding them. This one's actually in better shape. So I took the white out of the middle of them, which was kind of faded away, and stripped it out of there with paint stripper because that stuff's like baked on there, or I don't know, with powder coated. And then again, I had to actually tap myself some screws on the back of those things, and it worked out. Now, Billy Bob Joe, whoever this was, actually drilled a hole right here, and they drilled a couple of holes right here. I actually like the look better without the eyebrows on there, but since I have them and they're in decent shape, I went ahead and polished them up, and I'll be putting them on there right now. So that's a quick little install, and they just basically slip right in here. And they look okay. Something like that is what it looked like. And then more than likely, I'll probably get myself a blind screw right here and tap it from the other side, or actually run a bolt on it to clean it up a little bit and just polish that stainless steel bolt in here so it'll look okay. Anyway, car's looking decent. So that was it on that one. Coil over adjust. Well, went to Summit Racing, bought this little doohickey right here, but it's the wrong size, so more than likely, instead of sending it back, I'll just take these off right here and just weld myself some new tabs on here, because basically here's how you do your coil over adjustment. So I can't do that until I knocked it out. This was easy. Install front shocks. Knocked it out like 2 weeks ago. That was simple. Add side trim. Ooh, I doubled myself up on that one. Mount front seats permanently. Haven't done that. Power brake manual drill. So, quick little lesson from myself. This was a manual steering car, and what I had to do here is actually go to my brake pedal and convert it over to a ratio of what's called 4:1, and I got my little light hooked up right here. So if you see that little, there should be a hole up there, right there, and I had to drill the second one, which is lower, and then I actually had to move it down here and do some little welding right there and build myself a little jig. And what that is because there's a different, what's called an advantage angle on it, and basically you measure from here, from the bottom of your pedal to the top. And then obviously if you have manual brakes, you want more leverage. If you have power brakes, like I do right here, you don't need as much leverage because the power booster vacuum takes over. So I knocked it out. That was a little thing because I didn't want to take the whole thing out. Let me cut off my little light here now. Brakes, so this one is done. Brake pads, and let me show you what I don't like about this one. This is a company, it's Big Brake Kit. And see how that brake pad comes down right here and it only covers about 3/4 of it? I've got a solution for that. Don't criticize me for it, but I've got another set of brake pads going on right now because basically I know it's not going to be braking on here. I just want to get this for aesthetics purposes. And the same thing in the back. This is actually a Ford Explorer or a Mountaineer. And the same thing back, so I got a different set of brake pads going because I want, since you can see those discs on there, I want them to look nice and shiny on there, so I'm going to try to get that a little bit larger. Anyway, that's on the way from Summit Racing right now. Unfortunately, it's back ordered. So, camber adjust on the front. Can't really do that right now, but I've got it. Basically, where I want it, what basically I had to do is take the upper tie rod end, the ball joint, and move it in about 1/4 inch on the driver's side. Why, I don't know, but I couldn't get enough camber out of it. And the reason I had to do that, I'll show you in here, and again, I'll cut my little handy light on. You see those down in here? I just had too many of them way out here, so I basically moved the ball out, re-drilled the holes, welded it with the other ones. So now I'm basically in the center, and I've got about a -1 or 2 degrees right now as far as camber is concerned on both tires, and that's actually where I want to be. So that's that piece. What else we got here? Mount front seats, camber adjustment, hood paint. AC wiring. Heater hoses, real simple. Let me go ahead and knock that one off, otherwise I'll forget it. Heater hoses are done. This is simple, 5/8 inch heater hose. This is the vintage AC kit right here. And I just got them nicely plumbed into, although this is 3/4, I just stretch it up a little bit and mount them on there right there. And make sure you got to get your orientation correctly on there because you want the pressure port going in on the right side. Overflow canister. I've actually knocked out that one right now. I've got a nice one on the way from Summit Racing that I'm actually going to mount on this side right here. A nice 3-inch one out of stainless steel. And in the meantime, overflow canister is nothing more than a Coke can with a line running into it, and just temporarily because I kept spitting it out every time the engine would heat up. So Fender Rub, I've got that one figured out too. Show you how to take care of that one, the Fender Rub piece. Move right over here on both sides. See that bracket right there? Only thing I did is I just re-drilled the holes because it was rubbing on the inside right up there, and that's the only thing it was. I moved it in about a 1/2 inch, and it's actually okay right now. So it's not rubbing only when you turn the tires in. And if you look up in here, I've got a solid 1.5 inch in here, and it's not rubbing right now at all. I've actually went ahead and painted this thing with that blue paint I get from the Bauhaus, the Home Depot, and I can actually see now if they rub, but they don't rub anymore right now, so that's a good news story. What else we got here? Rear trim covering, haven't done that yet. Side window trim, steering arm, I've actually tightened that one up. Front suspension final check. Let me cut the light off here. That means that I've got all my cotter pins in there, all my safety pins, dowel rod everything, looped up everything with the grease fitting. So my front end is now completely installed on the car, and I don't have to jack it up anymore. So I'm getting to the point right now on this car where I'm getting final stuff done. I don't have to take it back apart and put it back together. But anyway, that's where we're at right now. And run oil temperature and oil water temperature lines. I've already done that. And the gear indicator, I have literally been playing that with for a couple of days right now. And then so that basically, the steering bolt, Titan, that was a 34mm bolt, which is like 1.5 inches. And I got that one tightened up right now. So like I said, everything in the front, the steering is hooked up. But let me show you something's really, really cool. I played long and hard with the idea about this Classic Instruments cluster that they have. But let me show you what it turned out looking like. It looks really, really cool. So instead of me putting some stuff together like I usually do where I hot glue stuff up from Summit Racing, like a speedometer behind an old module, I went ahead and spent the money on this one right here. Again, it ain't cheap, but tell you what, man, the results are really, really super cool on this one. So I got the lights cut on this one. So actually I don't, so hold on just a second. I'm trying to get this thing without a break. And I'm also getting to the point right now where I don't have to cut on and cut off the battery terminal anymore. So this is ground. So now I'll come back in here. And to show you this is actually pretty cool. So check this out. If you turn the steering on right here, the ignition, all that pops on and does this little display. I'll do it one more time. And the pressure's on and it pops back and forth. And then this is really, really cool right here. The illumination looks really, really nice. So that's the vintage, no, that's actually Classic Instruments. Now you can Google that yourself, but you're gonna have to lay down about 900 bucks. I know that's a serious amount of cash for me, but I thought about it long and hard, but you actually get the extra battery and you also get the old PSI up in here too, and it just looks really, really nice. I got my reset button down here so you can actually calibrate. It's a GPS speedometer, except I'm going to run this with the pulse code of the square wave coming off of the ECU for this thing. Again, that works. Now what I've also done right here, since my windshield wiper, everything is controlled right here, I went ahead and fabbed this right here. Let me cut this light on so you guys can see that. It might be a little bit too much. It's just a little fake button right now. It actually illuminates, but I'm going to have a guy 3D print me this piece right here that's going to say upshift and downshift, and my shifter is going to be right here for the LS motor or for the actual transmission. And same thing on this side. I now have a locking steering column right here, so This was Overflow. Same thing on this side. I just glued these in here today with a little bit of silicone, and it got these little bolts so you can push these in and back and forth. And I'll show you this right here. And this is going to be on off manual shift. I'm going to have it right here. On the other side, it's just going to say up and down shift. And that's basically it. Now, let me show you something that's really, really cool here. Some people like it, some people don't. But check this out. I got to cut my light off here. This is a rear view digital mirror. It's entering park mode right now because I turned the ignition off. But if you wiggle the car, I've got a 128 gigabyte flash card in here, an SD card. So 4 days of recording and then it starts looping over itself. But check this out, if you cut the ignition on, it automatically cuts on. And then it gives you front view, back view, and the SD card will be ready soon. So it starts recording. Basically, it's a dash cam that runs the whole time. But check this out. Here's what's really cool. If you put this thing in reverse, like I just did, it flips over to the rear camera. And this is actually HD quality at 150 DPI. So it's really, really cool. And you can see the sunset back there. And if I go back into normal park, it goes back into the front mode. Just a second. Yep. And pretty cool. So it's recording out the back right now. You got a split screen on here. You can swipe it down. It gives you all of your settings. I mean, everything. G sensor. So G sensor is basically if you got the car parked and somebody bumps it, it'll start recording front and back, or takes a picture every 3 seconds, however you want to set it up. And again, it sucks very, very little juice because it only pops on when you want it to. So this is really stoking stuff, man. I love this. This display actually turned out really, really nice. And while I'm over here, I got to show you one more thing, which was a pain in the butt, but I finally got it knocked out. Cut my light on here. So I wanted my gear indicator to still function. And then Classic Instruments wanted like $290 for their version. So what I did is I welded myself these little bitty stainless steel screws and these little holders right here. And if you see right here, I got a little bicycle cable for the brake. It runs all the way up in here. I've got my little holder right here, and I tapped into where the actual gear indicator shifter is for my low car shifter that goes to the automatic transmission. So now when I shift it, you can see right here, I'll cut this back off again. I'm gonna cut my light on so you can see it. Gear indicator actually works. Oh, I gotta put it out of gear. And see? I actually got reverse, my camera cut on, and it pops into reverse automatically, and it gives you where you can bump up against. Anyway, so pretty stoked about that. Now what I'm gonna do for the rest of this video is I'll just do some outtakes on individual little things I've done, little 1, 2, 3 minute clips. If you want to watch it, you can if you want to. But one more thing is an extra bonus. As I was drinking my coffee this morning, I was going through the local classified ads on eBay, the local ones called Kleinanzeigen, and I picked up this little jewel right here. I think it's like about 55 years old. I've got a little bit of paperwork on it, but it is a old school, built in England, sold in Germany, riding lawnmower, if you will, except this one actually cuts about an 8-foot swap every time you go through here. And again, I just like to play with it. I'll tell you what I paid for. This is a 2-cylinder, about a 22 horsepower motor on here. It's got electric start, everything works on it. Got a brand new battery with it too. And this sucker cost me 250 euros, which is the equivalent of about $300. The damn thing works. I drove it about 6 miles from the next town over here a couple minutes ago, so it's been a good day. So again, probably 1 or 2 more videos on the Nomad. I plan on taking this thing to the inspection station in the next couple of weeks, probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and go from there. But I'm happy with it. It cranks up, it runs, it drives. I've got a couple of minor things left on my list to do right here, and that's basically it. And then starting right at the beginning of the year, so 2021, I'll start on this little project right here. This should be a little easier because there's a company called Renegade Classics that basically sells you all the parts you need to take a 914, take an LS3 motor, which I ordered from Summit Racing. It's been sitting there for about 3 weeks right now. And then also, I went and sourced a Boxster S 2006 6-speed transaxle for about €1,000, and there it is right there. Already got it painted up, ready to go, and that's going to be the next little project right here. So it'll be a 6-speed, 430 horsepower, 914 that weighs right around 2,200 pounds, so super light car. Anyway, hey, real quick, everybody says it can't be done, but these are the Michi motor radiators, aluminum, and I got my Stegall thin fan in there. I'm going to take 2 of those and put them on both sides, and that way I don't have to run all that stuff from the front. So, again, take care, happy Halloween, stay safe, bye-bye. Roger from Germany. Tschüss. Alright, so I've marked it. I'm going to hack it right here because there's no way I can take the steering column and move it down enough unless I take it completely out. And this should actually give me easy access to take this instrument cluster out when I want to. So measured it, going to change out cutting pads here. I use these stainless steel ones. They're super thin, and you can make a nice neat cut with it. Again, this is not a high dollar restoration. I do what works, and got my safety glasses on. Let me see if I can move this down here so you guys can actually see this hacking job. So there's my cut line, and I'm going to try to prop this up just a little bit so I'm not pressuring it. Yeah, that should do the trick right there. Here we go, people. Low speed. Alright, that's actually a pretty nice line. It didn't damage the chrome any, and I'll just do the other side here real quick and show you guys how that turned out. So I'm kind of like in uncharted territory here. Cutting just a little bit at a time. I know this looks kind of hacked up right now, but this piece I'm not going to be able to use at all because the steering column is just too wide for it, so throwing that away. And now I'm in the process of doing this one. I just cut these little support pieces off right here because I'm actually not going to use them. And you know, don't hold this against me, but what I'm going to do, see this little tab right here? This goes right below the gear indicator that goes back and forth, and that's just a little bit of, you know, RTV silicone, a little piece right here, a little piece right here, and just glue it on there. I just actually got to get this little round right here, and this piece of tape happens to be the exact outside circumference, so that's what I'm going to use here. So I'm just going to nibble on it a little bit. That actually works pretty good right there. The light's going to be in here, but so this is what I'm looking at so far. It's actually looking pretty clean. Obviously I had to hack off the bottom right here because it wouldn't clear right up in here. Let me see if I can get this camera up in here, this little GoPro. Right up in here. And now I'm just marking it. This is that little piece. It's gonna go right there. See how it pops up in there? And just put a little RTV silicone on there. And it's pretty tight, and that way when I move this back and forth, it'll clear. So that's kind of cool. It's actually working out better than I thought it was going to be. And now, come over here and just use what you got. And if you notice right here, I can actually do a nice little, see that little black line on there? I got to get rid of that. I got a nice little, perfectly round piece on there now. Right there. So that actually works out pretty good. looking at this piece all the time, so polish it up a little bit. It actually cleans it really, really nice. I kind of like that old patina look on there, but it really shows on. I'm not going to re-chrome it. But what you can do now is that little rough edge right there, you can actually, even with the polishing paste on here, the brown, you can round it off a little bit and it'll look pretty cool. Anyway, that's the plan. Turned out pretty good. Kind of happy about the way this piece of a project is that I've been avoiding now for a long time. So, kind of important right here, because if you have a little gap between here and the glass, which is right here, what will happen is little dust and crap will get in here. So the only thing I'm doing is I got basically this little foam, black foam, got it stuck up in here like this. And what I'm doing is I'm just barely pushing it in so you don't see it, but it creates this little buffer between the instrument cluster bezel right here and the actual glass. Just a little bit. You want about 1/8 of an inch sticking up. Classic Instruments doesn't tell you to do this, but I noticed that there's literally like a millimeter gap, which is like a 1/16 of an inch all the way around it. And I might run a strip up in here too, and that'll completely seal this piece up here. Anyway, little tip. This thing turned out pretty doggone good, so it's kind of pricey, but man, it's going to look good in this little 55 Nomad. Take care, bye-bye. All right, almost done with this thing. This is like 2 hours later. And this is just the way I like to do things. I like to label everything. I'm like a squirrel who forgets to where he buried this nut. So when I come back here in 4 or 5 years or 2 years, I can actually look on here, and this is the black wire I had to use right down here because it's not part of the original wiring harness. And this up here is all easy wiring, so that's the turn signal indicators, high beam, power on, and ignition on and stuff like that. And it comes out here to the Classic Instruments wire and converted it over. Here I've tapped off. This actually goes to the dome lights, not the dome lights, but the actual instrument cluster. And then this plugs into the back of that cluster right there. And that's basically it. And I'm running my line right here all the way over to my clock right now. So that's basically it. Turned out pretty good. I'm going to crank this thing up in a couple minutes, not the car itself, but make sure the gauge actually works it. All right, the only thing not working on the gauge right now is the actual fuel gauge. So I broke out the manual here, and this right here, if you can see that, I need to actually fix the dip switch on the tail end right over here. And so this is what I do. I keep every single piece of paper, manual, or anything that ever comes with any of the cars I work on. I put them in this big giant thick book here. And then what I got right here is the actual 240 ohms empty to 33 ohms full. And what my gas gauge is doing right now is actually maxing out. It just goes slowly all the way over. So I've actually got it flipped out. So according to this, that would be 0 to 30. I got to go the other way around, 240 ohms to 33 ohms. And I'll simply do that by heading over here. And this is what's nice about this Classic Instruments gauge set. Whatever you have in here, they've already figured it out for you. So there it is. Turn the lights on. You can see when I cut it on, the gas gauge will go all the way to full. So what I'm going to do right now is actually try to adjust it. Just turn it around carefully. There it is right there. And it's kind of, I'm 55 years old, but my vision is still pretty decent. So I've got to go in here right here with a screwdriver and see if I can turn that. Okay, there it is right there to the position 1. And then I'll see if it works now. So, ordered a really nice stainless steel catch can for my radiator, but until it shows up, we're going to improvise. So pop this in here real quick, just like that, and it'll stop this crap from happening. I mean, I just don't have it, but right here, if you notice that little thing right there, overflow, it keeps spitting out right here because I just haven't got my catch can in here. And I'm just going to drop my can right here and push it in there, and until the new one shows up, I'll be good to go. Take care.